So just say your name and your age.
I'm Howell Williams. I'm 37 years old.
Audrey Coughlin, 80.
My name's Larry Rich, and I'm 75 years old.
John Martin. I'm 72. Very old.
Carrie Walsh, age 46.
Joe Conway, 74.
Anita Conway, 74.
I'm Chris, I'm 65.
I'm Eric, and I'm 64.
Bob McGee, I'm 70.
And what movie did you see today?
The Lost King.
The Lost King.
We saw The Lost King.
The Lost King. I forgot the name of the film, yeah.
The Lost King at Jacob Burns.
Richard III, The Lost King.
Ditto.
The Lost King.
And how did you like it?
Liked it. Yeah. It was good.
I was very interested in, they're finding the remains, but now I have to ask myself, is this film true?
I liked it very much. I found it very interesting in terms of, the historical background and so forth. And they told a good story. I mean, that's the main thing. But Sally Hawkins' performance was amazing.
It was very good. Yeah, it was very interesting.
It's an amazing film. I absolutely love the producer, Steve Coogan, and on all the things he makes. But also the story is so fascinating because I had watched the documentary about the discovery of Richard III and followed it since 2012. So I was really excited to see that a film was being made with such, quality actors. Lovely film.
Fabulous. If you're a literature major like I was, or if you read a New York Times story a couple of years ago about the finding of the remains, the bone remains of Richard III, it was surprising to see that a movie was actually made of it. And the movie is very, very interesting.
I was inspired by the story of the woman who acted her story and Richard's story and how they all intertwined. And it's about the history you leave behind, or who people think you are, and even who knows what is, with Richard.
Yes, I enjoyed it very much. I thought it was interesting as a historical record and also humorous.
I loved it. Good acting, good story.
I thought it was terrific. I thought it was a great film. It was kind of inspiring, especially when you consider what it takes to be an iconoclast who would be willing to sort of fight against conventional wisdom to pursue something that seems beyond reach.
And what would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5?
I'm going to give it a solid 3.
I would say it's a 5.
I might give it a 3.5.
It's usually very hard.
I'll give it a 4.
On a scale of 1 to 5, I would say that this movie is 5. And, one thing I absolutely loved about it was there's a scene at the end where Richard III is going to the Battle of Bosworth, and they did not do it digital, they did not have special effects, they had a very old-fashioned scene of people on horses, slightly awkward even, but just really powerful. They were actually at the Battle of Bosworth site, and it was just so beautifully filmed.
Oh, a 5.
Yes.
I'm going with a 4.
I'll go with 4.5.
Wow, I love that. What would you rate it 1 to 5?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was a 5.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Only in Theaters. I'm Nicole.
I'm Leanna.
And we went and saw The Lost King. And this week we will be discussing it, giving our opinions and sharing what we thought, rating it. So for those who don't know, The Lost King is about an amateur historian who defies the academic establishment in her efforts to find King Richard III's remains, which were lost for over 500 years. And we could just jump right into it.
All right, let's do it.
So when we went to the Burns this week, we talked to a lot of lovely people outside, as always, and they were all telling us about The Lost King. And they had rave reviews about it. So we were very interested to see what it was about because we had no idea anything about it going in. So it was certainly an adventure, to say the least.
Yeah, I had not really heard about The Lost King before. I think I probably saw like a post about it on Twitter, and the only thing I knew was that Sally Hawkins was in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, when we started talking to people and they were all raving about The Lost King, I was excited. I had no idea really what it was about, except Sally Hawkins is in it, so.
Exactly. And hearing Sally Hawkins, I got excited because I'm a big fan of hers.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. I'll get into my opinions later. But what did you think of the movie?
I did like the movie. I was impressed with the storytelling and how well they explained the story of Richard III. I'm not really like a big history person, let alone like medieval.
Yeah.
Is that the right? I don't know if that's the right word.
Like, yeah.
But kings and stuff, like I didn't really know anything about it, but I was very intrigued the whole movie. And I loved Sally Hawkins in it. I thought that her performance was really great, and I actually missed the part at the beginning, I think, when it was said that it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that until the end. So that was a big reveal for me.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it, but I really think that that was mostly due to Sally Hawkins, because I think that I liked the story, and I would like to know more about the real story, like what actually happened, considering it is based on a true story. I would like to know more about the woman and how that came about, because that seems very inspiring, and that's what I thought. I thought she was very inspiring, but I don't know. As a movie, I don't know. I felt like the characters were all a little bit half-baked. It was a little flat for me.
Yes.
I mean, it was good, and it was an interesting idea, and I thought it was very funny, but that was also a problem I had with it. Like, it just, I don't know, like, it seems like a pretty serious story. Like, it's fine to have some humor in there to cut it up, don't want to, like, be so heavy, but
it was very quirky.
Yeah, it was quirky, which I don't know if that really worked for this kind of story, personally. I don't know.
I think it worked for Sally Hawkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about the characters kind of being kind of half-baked. I think that what I was saying about the storytelling, I think that the story of King Richard, like, that was very well told.
Yeah.
I was very intrigued by that, but the characters were a little bit, they weren't the forefront of the story, which,
yeah,
I wouldn't have done it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I feel like there's two ways you could have gone with the story. You could have done it as more of like, oh, I'm going to talk about this woman and what she did with her life, rather than focus on King Richard. And they kind of went the other way, and they were like, we're going to focus fully on King Richard, which is fine, but I wanted to know more about her. And another thing that I have written in my notes is the villains, like the man from the university. He felt almost cartoonish to me, and if this was actually a problem that this woman encountered when trying to find King Richard's grave, I feel like it should be taken more seriously, and like again, the funny, you could add little quirks and like it's funny, haha, but like I don't know, I feel like when it came to that, like that guy was like overplayed as like this cartoonish villain, and I was like, he is a villain obviously, but like play him as a villain, don't write him as like a cartoon character.
Yeah. I think, at the end of the movie, it really veered towards that whole thing with the man at the university with the, just not giving her any credit.
Yeah.
Like the scene when they have that event and they have speakers and everybody but her are invited to speak. It really did turn towards that in the end. Maybe it shouldn't have been completely
honestly
like that.
I would say that like for the movie that they made, I think that it fit. you know, like it was very like quirky. It wasn't really taking itself very seriously. I think for that kind of movie, it fit very well. His character fit very well. It was written well. Like, if you're trying to make that kind of movie, then sure. I think that it should have been told in a more serious fashion, considering it's modeled off of a real person. But that's just me.
Yeah. I think that the, like, quirkiness helped with just the kind of dullness a little bit of the subject matter. You know, like, archaeology is exciting, but also this isn't really something that, you know, a lot of people know about or talk about outside of these, like, niche groups. Yeah. So I think that the quirkiness helped with that. I will say, I do agree a little bit. It was a little too, like, silly, but I really did like the whole part about Richard III, like, following her around.
Oh, I loved that.
That
I really
was
did love it. I
so
thought that
weird.
was so cool. I thought it was funny too that, like, and that one scene where she said something to him and it, like, offended him, and he was like, "You really think that I would do something like that?" And then he ghosted her for like 2 days. Well, no pun intended. He ghosted her for 2 days. Like, I thought that was so funny. I was like, this works. I was like, I like this. Like, I really liked that he was there, like, the physical embodiment. And the fact that it was clearly her seeing what she thought he looked like, or, like, the association she had with him because she saw that man play him in the play, and the man that she was seeing was actually just the actor from the play. I thought that was so funny. I don't know. I really liked it.
I loved the scene where she met the man that was in the play.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Do I know you?" Like, I was like, this is so funny.
Well, she went up to him and she's like, "Richard."
Yeah. It was so, I can't. Like, honestly, I was pleasantly surprised by the movie, but when I left, I don't remember being as satisfied as I wanted to be.
I think it was a little bit unresolved.
Yeah.
You know, especially with that introduction of the conflict at the end, with it not giving her recognition.
Exactly.
It just kind of closed at a weird note, which, I mean, maybe they were trying to go for accuracy. That's just how things ended, but it seems like there could have been a little bit more there.
Yeah, I agree. Because it was like cutting back and forth between, like, what the men were doing and then what she was doing, which I also really did enjoy where she ended up, like how she ended talking to the school full of girls. Like, I thought that was really nice and, like, inspiring. And even if she didn't get that sort of recognition from those other people for her work, she was recognized by, like, the young girls in the next generation, which I thought was a really nice message. But I agree. I do think that there was some unresolved conflict at the end. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, now that this movie is out, maybe, you know, she's going to get more recognition, you know?
Yeah, true.
Because if this is based on true events, then Philippa in real life experienced the same thing. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that they made this movie, you know, like, what she did is awesome. And, like, I mean, what they worked on together,
I agree,
is really interesting. And the whole like drama with Richard III and Shakespeare's play,
it's really up for debate. I feel like it's something for people to ponder. Like, was he really a bad guy, or was he someone completely different? Because we weren't there. It's not like we would know. But that was another thing that I thought. I didn't know anything about King Richard. Again, I don't know if I said this. You did. But I'm not a history person either. And so I didn't know that much about him. And knowing all of this, like, oh, well, people said he had a hunchback and he really doesn't. And all this stuff, like, oh, people think he killed his nephews and that's never been proven. Like, I don't know. It's just, like, interesting, and it's an interesting thing to think on. And it's interesting to know that there are people out there who do believe that and believe that he was a good person and that he was a lot better than people make him out to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting that he has supporters, like defenders.
Fan clubs,
yeah. what was it? The Richard III Society?
Yeah, it was
that Philippa joins like towards the beginning of the movie. I liked those characters a lot. I thought that was like the right type of like casting, and
I agree.
it was perfect. I would say that this movie definitely isn't for everyone. Partially because it's just like kind of weird, it's kind of funky, but also it's like about his history and like archaeology. So it's a little offbeat. Like I said, I hadn't heard about this movie before, besides like one Twitter post or something. But I don't know if I would have seen it if we hadn't gone to the Burns that day.
Definitely.
And
not.
I'm kind of sad about that.
Yeah.
Because I did like it,
And
it's a cool story.
It gave me a lot to think about, which I liked. Gave me a lot to think about and a lot to research, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, there was that documentary someone was talking about.
Oh yeah, when we left, there was a woman and she was very, very interested in the life of Richard III, and she said that she had been following the case since what did she say, 2012 or 2014?
Yeah,
something like that.
I think she said that she was following up until Philippa and
started her search on
right.
But she was very excited, and she was like, they actually wore like the right, like the stuff that they wore, and they filmed where they went off to battle or something like that, and which was really interesting. And she told us about this documentary that they made about Richard III and the whole case with Philippa. And I'm really interested to watch it now because I don't know. I want to know like the bare bones like facts about what happened like with the whole excavation and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Okay, I just found a 2013 documentary, Richard III, The King in the Car Park.
There you go.
Which is a great name. I assume that's probably what she was talking about.
Yeah.
And the other thing that she said that I liked was she was talking about that scene where Richard is marching like off to battle with other people on horses.
Yeah.
And she's talking about the awkwardness.
Yeah.
Of like, the suits of armor and the like clanging and walking on the horses. Like, she was really excited about that. I mean, I think that's cool too. That
it was so accurate.
Right. Because
to, like how they used to dress and had to act.
Yeah. Like I think maybe a lot of movies I've seen about like medieval times doesn't look awkward. Like I think I agree with her. I liked the historical like costume or the historical dress, that being accurate and, including that awkwardness and just kind of, uncomfortable, like a suit of armor, like on a horse. You can't really see, like, it's crazy. But when you watch these movies about these like medieval times, it doesn't look awkward. They look like they're having a great time.
Exactly. It looks beautiful. It looks cinematic. Yeah. No, I agree. And I thought it was interesting that she even like recognized, like noticed it. Because I didn't even notice it, honestly, when I was watching the movie. I thought it was interesting that she even like noticed that, because I didn't find myself noticing it. And I don't think I would have.
I noticed the awkwardness in that scene. I didn't notice like, oh, that's so historically accurate. But I thought it was funny. I was like, yeah, this is probably what it was actually like. Well, What would you say your biggest complaint would be?
Probably the fact that the characters were not, because I feel like that really could have fixed a lot of it. Like you could really hold a movie together with a good script, and I just felt like it didn't have it, which was upsetting, because it really is an interesting story and you had a great cast, and it just fell just a little flat. Sally Hawkins really, like, she was the only thing I was like, you're great. I love you, because she's an incredible talent
Yes.
So,
yeah, I wonder if that was, if, another actress was casted.
yeah.
I don't know if I would have been as intrigued.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree with you definitely about the characters not being the forefront. I wonder though, it might have been more boring.
That's true.
Do you think?
Yeah, no. Well, I think that she definitely still should have been the forefront, but I feel like even her character was a little half-baked. Like, we didn't know enough about her. We didn't know enough about her motivation.
Mm-hmm.
It was just sort of like, oh, one day I'm going to start looking for Richard III's body. Like,
Yeah.
it felt random. It didn't, I don't know. It just fell a little flat. I'm going to say that a million times, apparently.
Mhm.
But, it was, I just wish there were more,
Yeah.
And not that the other characters should have been, like, fully developed. Like, I don't need to know all of their backstory, but, like, a little more could have gone a long way.
I felt that way a lot with the husband.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand him. Like, especially when he was, like, calling her crazy, and then the next day, like, reading about Richard III, and then all of a sudden, like, he's got the kids, plural?
Yeah.
Kids, yes. Kids, plural, yeah, in on it. I was a little bit confused by him.
Yeah, he felt very, like, back
Flat?
and forth. Yeah,
Oh,
flat. He
Back
felt,
and forth, yeah.
Yeah, like hot and cold, because I just didn't understand, because he started with a girlfriend, and then he told his wife she was crazy, and she was, like, abandoning their children, and then he left, and then he came back, they kissed, he didn't have a girlfriend anymore. I was like, I don't know what's going on with you, but you're giving me a headache. I was like, I can't do it. And I love Dennis Coogan, the guy that played the husband, but I feel like he played it a little bit weird too. Like, he wasn't really giving for me. It was like, I don't know, he gave, like, one emotion the whole time, which is what it felt like for me. But that could have just been the script he was given, and in that case, he was doing the best with what he had.
It could have been the direction too. I almost feel like all of this we're complaining about might have been intentional, with the characters not really being that well developed, because it might have been too much information, overwhelming.
Yeah.
But there definitely would be a way to do it so that you could incorporate more about the characters while also keeping the excavation, the King Richard, like, keeping that
at the forefront. What would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5?
Okay, initially, and I changed this now, but initially I had said 4 out of 5 stars because I think it was also a little bit influenced by those people we talked to. They loved it. And so that made me want to love it. But now that I'm sitting here and we're talking, I'm going to say 3.5. I feel like I do have complaints about it, but I did really like it. So, and I mean, I thought that it was, like, a good movie. I wouldn't say it was, like, one of the best ones I've seen this year.
Yeah.
But, for what it is, I thought it was pretty solid.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, when we left the theater, I had rated it a 2.5, and I don't know. I might change my rating to a 3, just because it is a nice story, and I do think it's a story that should be told. It's interesting. Philippa is very inspiring, and the fact that she sort of found a light in Richard, and she wanted to find him and wanted to give him that, that burial that he deserved and stuff like that, wanted to find justice for him. I thought that was, it's a very good story, and I do think, I think it should have been told. I just think that it should have been told better. and so, yeah, maybe I will stick with my 2.5, actually. Because, yeah, I wanted just a little more, I think. But Sally Hawkins is great, and I love her.
I was going to say I'm definitely a little bit biased because of Sally Hawkins.
Yeah.
Because I just recently watched, Paddington and Paddington 2, and I love those movies, so
that'll do it.
I love her. But I'm also, like, kind of a high rater. Like, I have, like, a letterbox account.
You do?
And my friends will be like, he'll be like, why did you rate that 4.5 stars? I rated it 2. I was like,
movies are subjective.
Yes.
You could think your opinion could be very different from others, and that's okay. We highly recommend that everyone go out and see The Lost King or find it wherever it's streaming or anything like that, because you should form your own opinions on the movie, and because our opinions are not the end-all be-all. So definitely recommend that you go out and see The Lost King. Go watch Sally Hawkins' amazing performance. That was our review of The Lost King. So until next time, I think we're going to be signing off. So once again, I'm Nicole.
I'm Leanna.
So we'll see you next time. Only in theaters.
Songs featured in this episode include Wholesome by Kevin MacLeod via Incompetech.